Yes, I had a wardrobe change because it is now Tuesday. Good day everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Mariette, also known as the Boervrou, and this is episode 12 of the Crafty Stitches Podcast. Today is the 30th of May 2022 and I am coming to you from South Africa. I am not wearing any hand knits today, even though this is a knitted garment, but it is a store-bought garment. I was looking at it this morning when I put it on, and I thought by myself, I wonder if this can be easily recreated. Maybe not by me for now, but I'll strive to that in the future. Alright, so I've made some notes, as I always do, for this episode, and I think we have quite a lot to talk about. I've got some finished objects and lots of whips as per usual, and I do have some news as well and future cast-ons that I am planning. Let's get right into this episode and let's start with finished objects. Alright, my first finished object is the BUN-Hat that I was making for my husband. BUN stands for bottom up neck flap hat, and I have finished the BUN-Hat, but I unfortunately do not have it anymore because I already gave it to him to wear. I did make a video clip of the hat, and I will add it in here so that you can see, and then I'll be back afterwards. This finished object is my husband's hat that I made for him. I used pure gold in the colorway Stonewash for this project. The colorway is discontinued, and the last time I showed this hat, I was here at this Progress Keeper from Itsy Klein, and well, as you can see, I finished the hat. This is the BUN-Hat. As inspiration for this hat, I used the BUN-Hat from Deep Trout Designs, which is called BUN-Hat, stands for bottom up neck flap hat, and it is actually made, it's made with a bulky weight yarn, and because I don't like chunky or bulky weight yarns, I used the double knit for this project. And I said to my husband, I'll make him a proper hat with 100% merino yarn, but I'm first going to make this hat in a acrylic yarn that I do have in my stash until we get the sizing and everything right, because as I said, the pattern is written in a bulky weight yarn and I had to do a lot of calculations to get this hat to fit. I ripped back a few times and eventually finished the hat. So the hat originally decreases at the crown in 7 or 8 sections, depending on which size you make, because the hat in the pattern is written for a 18 or 20 inch head. This one was made to fit my husband, and I think his head measures about 60 centimeters. That is just somewhere between 23 and 24 inches, if I remember correctly. But anyway, so I changed the decreases to 6 sections, because that is what worked out with the amount of stitches that I had, and I think it came out very nicely. I've never decreased a hat in my life, so this was a first, and I think it looks very nice. I'm definitely going to make the neck flap part longer in the next one that I make, and I'm definitely going to make more. I'm going to do more garter rounds to make this a bit longer. I will just have to figure out the jogless garter stripes in the round for this side, so that it doesn't make a jog. What else is there that I can say? I knit this on 4mm needles. I used a shorter cable so that I don't have excess cable to work with, and after a few decrease rounds I had to switch to a longer cable so that I can work on magic loop. But I knit the whole hat on 4mm needles in the round. It was very fun to knit. I really enjoyed it. I couldn't believe that I got the decreases right first time. I didn't have to unravel or frog at all. I actually put in a lifeline, and it worked out fine. I was so excited and so pleased with this. So anyway, so when I finished the hat, I just had the last few stitches on the cable, and I said to my husband, please put it on, let me see if it's right before I finish it off, because then I can frog. So he put it on, and it fits his head like he wanted. And when I took it off, it was like, where are you going with my hat? I was like, it's not finished yet. You can't have it yet. Anyway, so I said to him, I will make a little video clip for the next podcast episode, and then he can have the hat. So I'm not going to torture him for 2 more weeks without his hat. So yes, that's why I'm making this little clip, and I will just pop it into the next podcast episode. So I'm very, very pleased with this hat and how it came out. For the size that I made, I used 69 grams of the Alpia Gold, and it is, how many meters is this? It's 258 meters per 100 grams. Alright, so the only other thing that I can say about the BUN-Hat is that I will definitely be trying to adapt it a little bit more. After he wore it quite a few times, he did say that it is still a little bit, the neck flap part is a little bit too short, and that it is a little bit cold. So I am still debating on how I'm going to fix that problem. Maybe I will lengthen the neck flap and make it double. I don't know. I'm still debating on what I will do with that. So that was a quick project. So I think maybe I will be able to do that again in the next few weeks, and then we will have another hat. But anyway, so that is the one finished object, and then the second finished object is this little blanket that I made, or not made, that I finished as part of my goals of finishing all of my whips that came out of my whip bin, but I will be talking about that a little bit later. So I'm just going to quickly show you this blanket. In the previous episode I was at this point of the border, and this is a stitch marker by Gertruida from Itsy Klein, and then this is the little blanket. There's just some granny squares that I just crocheted together, and I added a border. I did run out of yarn, as you can see here, and I just added a little bit of black just to finish the row off, to finish this round off, to finish the blanket. So that is the blanket, and that is a finished object. Let's dive straight into whips. So my first whip is this Beekeeper Cardigan. I'm still keeping this as a whip because I decided to add buttons to the Beekeeper Cardigan, and I decided to make the buttons myself. So I got my husband to help me, and we used some eucalyptus wood that was grown and cut on the farm that we currently live on, and we made some buttons from this wood. The buttons is not completely finished yet, and I must still finish, I think, 3 buttons completely for this cardigan. So at the end of the day, I decided to add 10 buttons to it, and in my previous episode I still needed to add finish off the sleeves. Both of the sleeves are now done. How will I show it? Like that, maybe. These are Progress Keepers by Pincushion Crafts that I got from Little Yarncraft. Both of them actually is the same, by the same maker. Right, so since the last episode, as I said, I finished the sleeves, both the sleeves, and I've added the button band with the buttonholes. At this point, all of my ends have been woven in, the ones that has not been knitted in, and then I have already washed it and dried it. It was quite a funny thing because I was taking out all of the Progress Keepers, and I was like, how am I going to now keep progress of where I was in the previous episode? And my husband said to me, just add yarn to the point. And I was like, why didn't I think of that? So I just added this these pieces of yarn to the places where my Progress Keepers was, and the moment the cardigan was dry, I put the Progress Keepers back so that we can see where I was. So in the next episode, you will definitely see this Beekeeper Cardigan as a completely finished object with buttons added to it. So this is a almost finished object, but I still consider it a whip because I still need to add the buttons, and only then can I actually wear it. Okay, so my next work in progress is the Irene Socks, designed by Tracy from the Grocery Girls. For this project, I am using Esteresa Yarncreations Clio yarns, which is a sock set that I have swapped from my friend Leanie from Independence Crochet. So the first sock was finished in the previous episode, and then my second sock was up to that point, which is another Progress Keeper from Itsy Klein, and it's really, really beautiful, this one. It's got a very nice back to it, so you can even use the back of this Progress Keeper as the front. Very, very pretty. Anyway, so okay, as I said, this is the second sock. I am using the mini for the heel flap and the toes. Let me just show you quickly the yarns. So this is the mini of the sock set. It's a beautiful light purple, like a little lilac color, and this is the main colorway of this yarn, which is a really, really pretty speckled and solid combination, which makes this beautiful, beautiful striping effect, as you can see at the bottom of, at the back of the sock. Hope you can see that. Anyway, so this sock is about, let's think about that quickly. It's 2/3 finished, I think, because I now only have the foot left. I am past the gusset decreases, and so I've just got the rest of my foot to go and the toes. So let me move this progress keeper. Right. Okay, so that is my Irene socks. Let me just put this back. In the next episode, I'm sure this will be a finished object. So as I said, I'm using Esteriosa yarns, and I'm using 2.5mm Chaigu needles for these socks. And I am making the medium size in the pattern. Okay, so that is the Irene socks. My next whip is the lace that I'm crocheting for my pantry shelves. So in the previous episode, I showed you the lace that I finished on the morning that I recorded the podcast. So this is the second strip of the exact same colorway and the exact same pattern. So if you have seen this before, this would not be a surprise to you. This is the lace that I'm making. Hope that is in focus. Let me try and do that maybe. I don't know. Okay, so this is the exact same lace that I showed you last week, but this is now 2, 4, 6, 7 repeats that I've finished. I am making this lace with 100% acrylic yarn. It is L crochet number 5. And I'm using a 2.25mm hook for this lace. I actually last week released a video on how I make this lace, which I will link in the cards for you now. And you can check that out if you like. Anyway, so in last week's episode, I mentioned that I will be going through my stash and seeing if I have enough of this colorway to complete the 6 pieces of 4-meter lengths of lace that I want to make for the pantry. I was considering doing them in different colors, but it seems that I have enough cream colored of this yarn. It's not the exact colorways, but I think it's near enough to each other, and I don't think it would look odd. So I decided to stick to the creamy beigey type of colors for this lace, and then we will see where I come to it at the end. But anyway, so that is the lace. It is still growing. I think I'll talk about this process a little bit more in my news section. Okay, that is the lace. Right, my next whip is the baby cardigan that I said that I'm going to start, that I was asked to make by a family member. So I'll put a picture in here of what the cardigan looks like. It will be made for a baby boy, so I will not be adding the circles and the strands and things. She wants the cardigan in just a plain blue. Alright, so for this project I am using L Baby 4-ply, and this is the colorway blue, but as far as I know, this is now called L Babykins. I'm not sure if it's the exact same thing, but it looks like the same thing. and this is approximately 200 meters on 50 grams, and it says on here 100% Cowl. So I guess that is acrylic. Should be acrylic, I think. And it's recommended for a 3mm crochet hook. This is the back panel of the cardigan, and let me just add a progress keeper to it now, because otherwise I might forget and then I wouldn't remember that I've already shown it on the podcast, which is of course another progress keeper by Itsy Klein, part of the same set. Alright, so this is the back panel of the cardigan. It is a 0 to 6 month size, and it is a pieced cardigan where I will have to sew all the panels together at the end. But that's what she wanted, so that's what we shall do. So when I started this cardigan, I had to size down quite a few needle sizes. It seems I'm a very loose crocheter. So the pattern was written, I think, for 3mm, recommended a 3mm crochet hook, and I had to go down to a 2.25mm crochet hook to get gauge. But anyway, it's going very fast. I mean, crochet is much faster than knitting, and I have to say I am enjoying this project. I know I'm maybe not going to enjoy the sewing so much, but I guess I have to try and overcome my dislike for sewing things together. So it's really actually not that big of a deal, I guess. But yeah, I don't know why I dislike it. So anyway, we shall see. As I said, this is now the back, and I do have 3 50-gram balls of this yarn, and we shall see how this turns out. Alright, then my last whip for this episode is a new cast on. Well, I don't know, it's a new cast on but an old project, if that makes sense. It is actually, I started this process of this cowl in, I think, June 2020. I knitted the first one just straight, and I didn't really like it that much. And then I added shaping to the cowl. I made it in L Pure Gold 100% acrylic yarn. So after that, I decided I want to make the same cowl in the Moya double knit yarn, which is this South African hand-dyed yarn. And I'm using the colorway Sangria. And I actually did knit the cowl. I do have it here. This is what it looks like. I really love the colors, the little specks of color. When I finished this cowl and I washed and blocked it, it did grow a little bit, and it was just too big for my liking. But in the meantime, to make a very long story short, I've discovered how to make a folded hem with a I-cord inside to pull it closer. So I decided I'm going to change this whole design, and I'm going to do that. So I'm going to re-knit this whole cowl, and I started with the leftover ball that I had from this project, so it's all the same lot numbers, but I did alternate yarns when I made this. So I decided to start with the ball that I had left, and then I will unpick this bind off and start knitting from the cowl, or frog the whole thing, and I don't know. I don't know the details of the process, but I'm reknitting it. That is the main thing. So I took the leftover that I had from this project, and I added it to one of my yarn cake cozies. This is the 50-gram yarn cake cozy, and this is just made in a acrylic yarn to keep it nice and neat. And then I started this project, I don't know when, Saturday, Friday, I can't remember. And, this is what I have so far. This is the progress that I made so far for this cowl. And I really love this. Oh my goodness, I love not having excess cable to move around while knitting on this project. And I love knitting stocking stitch. I can just sit and knit. I was actually knitting on it during our live Scrappy Sunday live chat. I'll be talking about it in the news section, but I was sitting and knitting on this, and I can knit without looking. And people actually commented on how I was knitting without looking. But I must really put this down, because before you know it, I'll be sitting and knitting instead of talking about the podcast. So that is my progress on my cowl so far. Let me add a progress keeper to it as well. As I said, it's a self-drafted pattern, and I've been working on it since 2020, June 2020. So it's been a long process, and I still have the original cowl that I knitted that I'm also re-knitting still this year, because I want to do it in the shaping as I did the other one that I did in the same yarn, so that I can wear it more, because if it doesn't fit properly, you don't tend to wear it that much, I found. So, right, that is the last whip that I have to share in this episode. Okay. Oh, I didn't say, I'm using 4mm Chiagu needles for this project, out of my interchangeable set that I'm building up. And I think that is all that I needed to say. I'm very excited about this project. I mean, I've knitted it. I think I've knit this one last year in spring, and it's been just lying in the whip and not getting reknit. And I'm very excited to get this one done, because I would really still like to wear it this year. Okay, and of course it's in my favorite color, so of course I want to wear it. I'm all about the purples. Okay, so let me see, what else do I have to talk about. I've got my book here with my notes. Yes, I had a wardrobe change because it is now Tuesday. But it doesn't matter. As long as I'm here finishing my episode, it's fine. All right. So this is my new section of the podcast, which I am calling Crafting Goals. I'm taking a page out of Nitty Natty's book and writing down my goals for the month. So I think I did mention about the video that I made on the 11th of May where I unpacked my whip bin and added 8 whips to my current whips. So I set a goal for myself for these 8 whips to finish one each month until the rest of the year, until the end of the year, so that I finish all of them by the end of 2022. Okay, so what I did is I actually made a list as well of the whips that I am selecting to work on this month. That will be the lace for my pantry shelves, the baby cardigan that I'm working on, the Irene Socks, and the Cowl that I'm currently working on. So that is my 4 active whips that I want to get finished still in this month. The Beekeeper is, I'm not even adding to this list because it's only sewing on the buttons. That's not that much of work. And the crochet and knitting and crafting on it, there's no more knitting to be done on it, so it didn't make the list. So for my finishing goal, I have 1 piece of the lace that I want to finish, the 4 meters, and then the baby cardigan I want to finish this month, and I'm gonna try and finish this cowl as well, and the socks I'm definitely finishing this month. So I went ahead and I've written out the dates of the weeks like I was taught by Nitty Natty, and I also started on Sunday, my week on a Sunday. I've pretended that I have 4.5 weeks for this month because I started my week on the 29th of May, my first week for the month, and then we still have the last week of the month is ending on a Thursday. So I just, to make it a little bit easier for calculations, I said that my month's got 4.5 weeks. So I went and worked out how much progress I need to make on each of these projects to get them done by the end of the month. Now this is just more or less goals. I'm going to try and stick to it. If I can't, or maybe I finish something beforehand, I will work on something else. And then of course I do have a future cast on that's going to happen, so I'm not sure how I'm going to fit that in. So I'm going to try and stick to this goals this month and see how that works for me, so that I can work it out maybe better next month. So what I did is I sat down and I said, okay, for the lace, for the shelves, I think I need 103 repeats of the pattern to get to 4 meters. So I took that and I divided it up in the 4.5, and then I need to do 23 repeats. I need to do 23 repeats per week and 11 repeats for the last week. That is just about half of a month. So that is completely doable. I've already got 7 repeats done so far on it, and it goes really, really quickly. So I'm very confident that I can stick to that goal. Then on the baby cardigan, I've almost finished the back at this point. So for my first week, I decided I'm going to finish the back and try and do 1 front panel. And then for the next week, I'll do 1 front panel and 1 sleeve. And then the next week, I will do 1 sleeve and start to join them together. And then the 4th week, I will just finish up the sewing and adding the buttons. And then I still have that half of the last week to maybe finish it up if possible. But I'm going to try and stick to those goals because I left the last week open because I am not a fan of sewing things together by hand, and I'm going to try and work on that and see that I get this done. Okay, so then the cowl I also divided up into the 4.5 weeks. I see that I've missed a date here, but it doesn't matter. So I decided that I'm going to finish the cowl. The cowl is about 45 to 50 centimeters in length, if I remember correctly. So I just decided to try and do 15 centimeters of knitting every week. So for 3 weeks, and then it'll be almost done. And then in the last week and a half, I can just finish up the rest of the length that I still maybe need and do the I-cord to finish it off. So I think that is totally doable. I mean, it's all just stocking stitch and it's just increases here and there, so I'm sure I can finish that. The Irene socks I'm gonna finish this week still. That will not be a problem. It is, socks just go so fast. So I'm gonna finish the socks off this week, and then this one project will be finished. And then I put the beekeeper here to say that I'm gonna sew on the buttons as well this week and finish it off. That is my goals at this point. Some things may change a little bit if I do cast on maybe a new project. I'm definitely casting on a new project. And because I am finishing my Irene socks, I am going to cast on a new pair of socks. I guess it'll be a pair for my husband this time, but it'll be just plain vanilla socks, and I plan to still do them in this month as well, the month of June. So let's say the 3 days of May that I've worked into this schedule is not going to be there. So let's then pretend that I've only got 4 weeks for the socks. So I will try and do what Natty Natty does. She usually finishes a leg in 1 week and a foot in the other, or something like that. So if I can maybe split the sock into 2 parts, say for instance do the leg and the heel, but I'm going to do them maybe toe up. So let's say do the toe and the foot with the increases in 1 week, and then I can do the heel turn, the heel flap, and the leg in the other week. So I think that can be doable. So I'm going to try and do that and finish up the pair of socks for the month of June. I'm also going to take part in the Sock It To Me challenge by Linda Simpson and Kim's Crochet and Knits that they are hosting, where they also make a pair of socks every month. And my friend Leanie at Independence Crochet is also making a pair of socks every month. So I thought I'll join them there and also make a pair of socks every month for the rest of the year. But I think that is about everything that I wanted to say for my goals, and let's see how I can stick to that. So let's move into news. Alright, so news is quite a busy section this week, or this episode, as summer sock camp started. So I'm definitely going to make a lot of socks for summer sock camp. I am planning on making some chunky socks as well. Okay, so let me see, what else do I have in my notes? Alright, the other thing in the news is last week I released a video of showing you how I make the lace for my pantry shelves. If you haven't seen that, you are more than welcome to go check that out. I will also link it down below. On the Sunday that just passed, the 29th of May, Leanie of Independence Crochet and I were joined by Adele from the Yarncreations podcast to have our 4th installment of our monthly Scrappy Sunday chat. It was live streamed on both of our channels, mine and as well as Leanie's, and we really had a wonderful time. Adele is very knowledgeable on all things knitting and crochet, and we actually inspired her to make a episode with all of her scrappy projects, or maybe not all of them, but with a lot of scrappy projects, where she shares how she makes it and all of those things. And it is really a really nice episode to watch, so I will also be linking that down below, and you can check that out if you like. I'll link both below, the Scrappy Sunday chat as well as Adele's podcast about all things scrappy. Okay. Alright, and between all of that, I'm also very busy with some things that I cannot really share yet. I've got a big rusk order that I'm busy baking, so that also takes up a lot of time, but I am still getting lots of crafty time, so that's not a problem. And then the last thing that I wanted to say for the news section is that on the 4th of June, which is this Saturday, Naughty Habit will have a pop-up shop again at Little Yarncraft in Weltevreden Park. So at this pop-up shop, there will also be 2 classes running. One of the workshops will be a Tunisian entrelac workshop hosted by Sonja van Wyk. So the second workshop will be a woolly wormhead hat workshop by Juanita Muir. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And myself and my friend Leanie of Independence Crochet have decided that we are going to attend that workshop. So I've already booked my spot, paid and everything. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be lovely to see Mincy again from Naughty Habit. And yeah, we might purchase a few things. Who can resist, you know? But anyway, so we will be at the pop-up shop as well, and at the workshop. So if you see me there, please just say hi, and I would love to see and meet new people. And I think that is about it that I have to say. I hope so. I hope that between yesterday's recording and today's recording, I got it all. I got it all out there. So the next section is my podcast recommendations for this episode. I am again recommending two podcasts for this episode. The first one that I would like to recommend is Fiberbound Podcast. It is Alexandra from Australia, and she participates in the Desert Vista Dye Works. I'm not going to try and say that because if they can't get it out, I'm not going to try. But it's something along the lines of a sock make-along where you use the Desert Vista Dye Works yarns and make a pair of socks every month or something like that. I know it's got a very long name and I'm not going to try and do that because I'll just butcher it. But anyway, so I love watching her. I've actually been watching her since her very first podcast, and she makes beautiful things, and I really enjoy watching her episodes. The second one I would like to recommend is another South African podcaster. I did speak of her before, but I've never really done an actual podcast recommendation. So this is it. It is the Volblom Knitting Podcast. It is hosted by Lisa, and as I said, she's also from South Africa. And the word Volblom means yarn flower in English, and she always says that it is the 2 things she loves. She always says that it is 2 of the things that she loves. So she is currently knitting the Billy Pullover by Sari Nordland, and that is coming out very beautifully. I would really, really love to see the end result. And I'm sure we will see it in the next episode. She's a very quick knitter. It's just like that and things are done. And she knits the most beautiful garments. Different stitches and lace and just beautiful things. So you're more than welcome to go check her out as well, her podcast, and I'm sure that you will also enjoy that. My comment question for this episode is, what is your favorite method of joining squares together? Whether it be knit or crochet, doesn't really matter. I would just like to know what methods you prefer so that I can look them up and see if I can maybe use that in the future for any one of my projects. Most of the things that I make, I just crochet together because I dislike sewing things together, but I am going to work on that to get over my dislike of sewing things together. I have to get over that because sometimes it is needed. So I would love to know, please leave your comment, please leave your comment down below. Even if you would just like to say hi or anything else, doesn't really matter. I love to speak to you guys. And I would also like to thank you. If you are a new viewer or a returning viewer, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time that you spent here with me. and I would love to know more and get to meet you, so please leave a comment down below. And then just the usual, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more of my content. And I will see you in the next one. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye.